Go ahead and pardon my interruption, Ryan. Thank you.
Sure. So do you want me to give you a second to record it?
No, it should
We're
be.
recording.
Okay.
Yep, we should be good to go. Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining us today. I appreciate you taking the time out to take a look at Aztec. Just so you know a little bit of background about me, I've been with Aztec roughly 15 years or so. So I'm familiar with I do a lot of the larger implementations with the groups that have been that have purchased Aztec, use it in a wide range of different venues. You know, the implementations sort of change depending on what the customer, you know, how they want to move the student through the system, whether it be to get their GED or HiSET, get their high school equivalency certificate. I know in Canada, things are a little different. So I'm just gonna sort of, you know, take your lead, ask a lot of questions, you know, when it comes time to the purchase process, and take a look at what you guys are looking to do and sort of customize the system to fit your needs. And that's the main goal, really, is to make sure that anything you're looking to do, that I make sure that our program fits into that path as we move forward. So with that said, please don't hesitate to stop me today. I know there's only a few of us on the call. If you have any questions, comments, you know, if I'm not steering you in the right way, or if I start talking about the Americanized GED or HiSET, you know, I start going off track, you can just shift me back in track. I have no problem with that. But yeah, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to stop and ask. Okay. My screens are over here. So instead of you guys looking through my ear, I am actually going to shut my camera down. I just wanted to say hi while I welcomed you guys. But my screens are here, my camera's here. So I'm just going to shut it down while I pull up my screen and show you guys. But if you have any questions, like I said, don't hesitate to stop me, okay? Okay, let's see here. Let me share. Why can I not find the share button?
Is it not appearing at the bottom of your screen?
Oh, found
Ryan?
it. Got it.
Okay.
Yep. Sorry. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is, what we're going to do is first I'm going to sign in as a student. I know you guys have been in as students. I'll take you through a little bit of that and what it looks and feels like. If you guys have been through the learning side and you don't want to see the student side, and you want me to focus more on the admin side, is just let me know. Is that something you want to do? Just focus on the administration side of the system?
Linda and Courtney, what's your pleasure?
I did, well, I'm not sure what Courtney would rather do, but if we do some of the student side, I wouldn't mind taking a closer look at the locator piece. I know I missed the last meeting, so Courtney may want to jump ahead, but I wouldn't mind taking a quick peek at locator if we could.
That's no problem. We can do that if that's where you want to start, Ryan. Mostly interested from my perspective on the admin side today, but we can accommodate whatever.
Yeah,
pretty flexible.
Absolutely. So let me, this student that I created, I actually didn't put him in the locator, but I'm going to do that right now. So just bear with me as I just walk myself through that. Okay. All right, so I just enrolled my student into the locator assessment, and we're going to go ahead and log in as that student and take a look at that. We'll spend a little time on that. If you have any questions, feel free to ask as we look at that. Okay, now the Aztec locator is an excellent tool that we offer our customers. And, you know, a lot of the folks are starting to use the locator. You know, we live in a new world, right? COVID is a big factor in the, you know, a lot of distance learning, a lot of folks working from home. They don't have access to the, you know, the on-site assessments that they've had in the past. So the locator is definitely used as we go through that. So what you're looking at here is Aztec offers 3 different locator series. We offer a math, a reading, and a language arts. Each one of those locator series has a results at the end. The results piece at the end will place or offer the student a insight into where the teacher should enroll them, what level the teacher should enroll them. Now, if you purchase all the academic series, meaning that all the way from fundamentals, foundations, bridge, and our high school equivalency, the way it works is at the end of this test, which we'll go through, I just clicked on the math, but we offer, it's roughly 50 to 55 questions in each one of the tests. They are randomized. So the 2 students sitting next to each other, if you gave them the locator, would not have the same questions at the same time. As you can see here, it's question and answer. The feedback we give our students is more on the pre-test, post-test. So once the student submits this, what you're going to see here is when I submit this, there is a gauge at the end. This gauge really places the student, or it tells the student or the teacher where that student should start with, or what grade level equivalent the student should start with. And right now it's focusing on, I obviously only answered 2 or 3 questions, but it's telling us the student should start with the fundamental series, okay? And that is for math. Now, if the student took the reading and the language arts, they might end up in a higher level reading and language arts. And that is the case, that we find that in most cases, that the students that have that higher level reading and language arts score might end up with a lower level math score. And in that case, what we do is we can actually create classes, customized classes, to only have the fundamentals math or fundamentals reading or fundamentals language arts basically 3 classes for each series. So you can place the student in a higher level language arts and math and a lower level, a higher level language arts and reading and a lower level math. Now down here at the bottom, the nice thing, when the student does complete their test and they see the results, they also have the opportunity to take a look at the questions, okay? So we offer the same thing in the pre-test and the practice test that we offer. We always like to give our students feedback. We never just tell the student, hey, they're wrong. We always tell them they're incorrect, and we give them the explanation why. So now it gives the teacher the opportunity to really sit with the student and focus on some of the things they might need to work out with the student. So you can see here, it's written out. The teacher can sit with the student and sort of not try to figure out the problem on their own, but we assist them and we help them and we give them an explanation down here at the bottom. Okay. Now, this view is obviously we're on the learner side, but this view is also available in the reports on the teacher side and the administration side. Does anyone have any questions for me?
So it's Linda. Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, I went through and did that today. And so what you're saying is basically the locator doesn't link up and assign anything to the client. The teacher still has to go through, and based on this graphic, like this gauge, they would then go in and assign according to it.
Yes. And
okay.
Yep, you're exactly right. And we make it really easy. So like, even though it might be right now you're saying to yourself, well, if I have 20 students, well, at the end, if you gave all 20 of your students the math locator, and you ran a report on the math locator. It would show you their results on one quick screen. You can export those results, and the teacher can just go down the list and enroll the students in them. And they could do mass enrolling. So you're not doing it onesie twosie. You could take 5 or 10 students. If those 5 or 10 students ended up in math fundamentals, you could take all 5 or 10 of those students and enroll them in that class at once. Okay. All right, so that is the locator. You know, obviously there's visual cues everywhere you look. The student will see, you know, whether it's red, not ready, it might be yellow for partially ready or green for ready. And you'll see that throughout the system when we get into some of the learning into some of the classes. So for instance, if we went into the RLA, which is our GED prep, you can see here, this is just the one subject, but as the student completes the pre-test and the learning lessons and the drills and the post-test, all these little circles fill up with a percentage next to them. Also, the system's bookmarked. So while the student's going through the system, you'll notice if the student has to leave in a hurry, when they come back, they can always end up back at the same spot that they left off.
Hey, Roy, can I jump in for a sec?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
We sent our colleagues a document of all of the lessons and drills that are across all of the different levels in the system. Are you able to sort of show how you would set up a custom class for the specific substandards that they're interested in building classes for based on their intake assessments?
Yes, absolutely. That's where I was going next.
That'd be great. Thank you.
So I'm going to log out here as the student, and I'm going to log into the system as the as a administrator in the system. So let me just. So what you're looking at here is as I log in as the administrator, it's really simple. You go to the brains of the system, which we call is the admin center. And within that admin center, what you're going to see is we have a list of something, a tab here called classes. And to create that custom class, what you would do is you would come down here and click new class. And we can correlate basically anything. If you had a document similar to the one, I believe, Mitch, you sent this out, correct? So what
That
you're
is
looking
correct.
okay.
Yeah.
With the classes listed, you can certainly do a search for something like whole numbers or addition and subtraction on this list and find out where they might sit in Aztec. So what you're looking at is the foundations curriculum, addition and subtraction. So if you had something similar to this, you could also do a search, import, and this was in foundations. And then what you could do is you can actually, the easiest way to do this is if you're focusing on math, you can delete the reading and language arts and open up the math again to see all the content in the math area. Now, with that said, if you're looking for a specific lesson, for instance, we talked about whole numbers, you can check all the boxes that don't appear to be whole numbers and delete anything, delete the remainder of the lessons. So if you want the student to focus on just the whole numbers area, you can create a class that simple. Let me just go down here. And there's easier ways to do it as we minimize some of these things. Sorry about that. You can keep what you'd like and delete what you don't like in the math area for the class you're creating. Now you can mix and match these. So if you have something from a different series or a higher level series that you'd like to add to your math class, you could just click the import again and add that additional series. So for instance, if it wasn't from Foundations and it was from a different series Aztec offers, you can add that as well. When you're done, obviously you create a name for the class. You can just call this, we'll just call it math. You can focus your students' hours. So if they have goals that you'd like the student to hit on a weekly or a daily basis, you can create that here. If we do have videos in our higher level, Kaplan videos, you can turn those on. And then what you would do is you would attach a teacher here. That teacher is the teacher I created. And then basically just click create class. And that's how easy it is to go ahead and create a class.
It's Linda. Just a question. Can you add more than one teacher to a class?
Yes, you could add as many teachers as you like. So you can see here in the list, we've added about 7 or 8 teachers here in this list. And the idea here is that the teachers, when they are attached to the class, the nice thing is they have a specific classroom view to have more interaction with the student. So in the classroom, right now we're in the admin center, but if we go to the class center, the teacher has the ability to, there's more teacher-student interaction where the student, where the teacher can actually focus the student on maybe a specific lesson, create an assignment for them. So we can go in and do that if you'd like to see that, how to create a lesson. I know that was one of your questions, how to create an assignment, sorry.
And Ryan, I have another question too. Are they able to pull in like a life skills module into the math class?
Yeah, absolutely. I said,
they're working on, say, adding and subtracting whole numbers, but they also want a student to work on writing a resume. They could combine that into one customized class.
Yeah, you can mix and match any combination of lessons, pre-test, post-test, anything that you've purchased that's in your list of drop-downs. Right now, this customer that I'm working in doesn't have life skills, but if they did have life skills, I can take a piece of that and move it into my math class if I wanted to. It might not make sense to me, but if that's something that the class needed, that can absolutely add that to there.
Ryan, it's Courtney here. I just have a question. Looking at, for example, this Webster ABE Adult Basic Education course, if you wanted to change content after you published it, per se, can you do that without impacting the course?
So you can change the content, but like you just said, it will change the dynamic of the overall class, because where a student that started it, their 100% completion of that class is smaller than the person who's just got enrolled yesterday when the class was changed.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yep.
So can I follow up with that? That's a great question, Courtney. Can you then, is there a way to, so say Joe is in this level in language class, but then you just want to add in one assignment for him. There's no way just to tag one assignment to a particular learner then?
Absolutely, there is. Let me
Oh,
show
there
you
is.
how to,
Okay.
yeah, let me show you how to do that. So as we go into the system, so now we're in the specific class, and I just took this one out because I know my students assigned to this. So we're in this specific class, and the way that it works is when you're looking at student scores, let me just go in here. What you're looking at is one student here, and this student has taken the pre-test here, or the practice test. What you can do is you can actually check the box to the left of their name and click new assignment. That will allow you to focus the student on just one learning area if you want, and one drill, or maybe 2 learning areas and 2 drills. Now, the nice thing about this area is you can block them from moving forward and doing anything additional in this class until they complete this on the due date. On or before the due date, I should say. And you can also get a notification by checking the box, so the teacher can get a notification email that the student completed their learning and drills in this area.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can do the same thing. So the nice thing about this area, the reason why I like it so much is not only can you do it for a singular student, but you can also take it to the next step, the next level, really. Let me just drop down here and get some more data.
So this is the teacher view then that we're looking at. We're out of the admin and we're looking at the teacher view now.
Yeah, well, the admin has access to everything, but the teacher you can limit the teacher's access to see whatever you'd like. And this is one of the limiting teachers in the system. They would see the class center if they're attached to the class.
Okay.
Now, one of the nice things here, we don't have any data. Hold on one second. Let me go back to class center and find some students here. Here we go. Okay, so so down here, what you're looking at is one student, but they might have multiple students. And the way that it works is the systems, depending on as a group, how well they did in their pre-test and post-test, what you can do is you can group those students together based on the color, what we call these are bands. You can group them together by clicking on these icons, and you can create an assignment for that group of students that either did well, partially ready, or not ready for this particular area. So for instance, functions and graphs, obviously it's just one student now, but if you had 20 students here that were in the red, you could do the same thing. You would check the box in the red, and you would go ahead and scroll up to the top and create an assignment for that group.
So it's Linda again. Sorry for keep popping in, but so those bands that you're talking about are created from the locator series, or how do we know when how is that determined for a learner?
So the band is determined by the score. Okay, and
score from
the score from the pre-test. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
So the score from the pre-test and the post-test. So what we're doing, this is not the locator anymore. We are actually in a class. And the class that we're in is a level 4 math, which I know for you folks, you might not, they're level 4, they go based on NRS level. So their content in this class is the NRS level math. So these are the pre-test and post-test for whole numbers. As you scroll down, pre-test and post-test for decimals, pre-test and post-test for fractions, and so on and so forth. And that's where we're getting that score.
Okay, that makes more sense. Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I just trying to wrap my head around your structure. That's all.
Yeah,
So
no,
you're doing great.
Yeah, there is a lot in here. And that's because a lot of folks have, there's a lot of, every customer is really different. They have their own needs, they have their own suggestions, what they'd like to see. And we try to make it happen for everyone. You might not use every single button in the class center, based on your needs. We might focus on just telling folks if they work with students one-on-one to just use student scores, because you need to focus just on a singular student. If you have someone in a classroom setting, you might focus on the classroom scores and want remediation for that group of students that did poorly or maybe had a partially ready score, which was in the yellow.
Okay, so with our clients and is the aspect that they are all virtual, they're all over the place in what they're doing and that type of stuff, and we never sit down face to face. So the student scores I think are going to be the most important to us in the aspect of how a client is progressing on their own type of thing. So that you're saying that would be kind of the student score area that we would be looking at then?
Yeah, the student score, and then we also have additional buttons that you might use. For instance, the progress. So if you're looking at a student's progress, you can there's different areas where you can create an assignment for a student. But if you look at a student's learning plan, for instance, you can see what they've started, what they've completed, and this breaks down the entirety of the system. The student doesn't look like they touched anything, but.
And so sorry, and those are broken down by, so how deep does that go? Are we looking at the assignment, or are we looking at a module, or how deep does that tell us what's going on?
Sure. So keep in mind that when we go into a classroom, remember what we did was you can create a custom classroom, right? And put whatever content you want in there. Now, this customer just happens to have the entirety of level 4 math, which consists of, and as I click on this, you'll see exactly what is consistent of this class: foundations of geometry, fractions, functions and graphs. But if you, as you customize this, if you just had foundations of geometry, that would be the only thing you would see here. It's just based on what you have in your class. And so we're looking at the student's profile. So we're digging deeper into the student. What did my student complete? And what did they not start yet? And you can see that here. Okay. Now, this is a little more, once you get familiar with the system, this is something that we show in addition to that, because this is an area where, quite honestly, it's more advanced Aztec users use this to reset learning plans and reset tests or wave tests that they know a student knows might be proficient in. So that's why we have that there in the progress button. The reports we have, you can have reports specific to a classroom, or you can have reports specific to the entirety of the system. What I mean by that is, in the admin system, the teacher can have access to, if you're looking at a report for a singular student, you would go to the admin system to look at all their data. If you were looking for a specific classroom, you would come to the classroom and run that report. We have all different types of reports. We have time on task, student activity detail, which is sort of like, it will give you all the details about the student, how long they've been in there, the scores. These can be exported into an Excel file or a PDF if you'd like to export those and save them. And then we have a learning transcript, student attendance, and so on and so forth. This is something that the FSR typically works with the customer or the client to find out what their needs are. Instead of you looking through all of these and trying to figure out what you need, if you can tell me, hey, the things that we report, or the data that we need is XYZ, I'll sort of direct you into the reports that you need. So it makes it easy for you to pull or report those.
Ryan, it's Sarah. Because both Linda and Courtney are working with distinct programs that Contact North supports, I'm wondering about the management of administration tools for these program managers.
Mhm.
Is there a way to set it up so that they have access to their program specifically versus the other program?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. We actually do have a way to limit the system view. We have a way to basically segment just so a teacher can just see their students when they sign into the system, and they can just see their classes created. If you want, that's something that's sort of like the way that this customer has it set up as they sign in. So for instance, watch what happens as I sign. I'm going to what we call masquerade, which allows me to log in as this additional user. But you can see they don't have admin access. They have advanced teacher, report viewer, and essay grader. So let's take a look at what this person might see. When we log in here, the difference is when I go to the admin center, they're only looking at a list of 41 students, where before we were looking at a total of 3,000 students. Is that what you were looking for? More of a limiting factor?
I think so. I think that both Courtney and Linda may also want to comment on that. Were we to proceed with you Contact North would have the overall contract and be responsible for the purchase of licensing, but we have to make sure that the program managers for these organizations can access and manage as they need for their groups of registrants.
Yeah, that's a good point, Sarah. So essentially, we'd be looking at setting up two separate schools almost within the platform, if that's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you can look, if you're looking at my screen, you can see that I'm limited to the students that I'm showing, or the students and staff that are associated with this account. And then when you go to the enrollments, same thing. You're not looking at 3,000 students that are in the entirety of the system. You're only looking at the 41 records that are that are assigned to this school. One of the other nice things is when you go to enroll the student in a class, you're not looking at the 600 classes we have created for them. You're only looking at the 24. They have it broken out in a certain way, level 1, level 2, level 3, all correlated to the NRS because that's how they report. But you can see here, they're not looking at the entirety. We name them the school name, attach the teachers to that name, which limits their view to only their classes.
Okay, I think that explains it. I don't know if Linda has any questions.
So just a quick question is when a student's enrolled, so say you have like, yeah, you guys did a good job of explaining it. It's like Contact North's a school board and then there's two schools under them. So when a client is enrolled into Aztec, are they attached to a school? Or are they attached to a teacher, or how does that get linked up?
That's a good question. So the way that it works is the overlying factor is the classes. Okay, so the way that it works is the teacher is attached to the classes. Okay, and then the way that it works is once you enroll your student into a class, that teacher can see that student.
So Ryan, why don't you show us how to create a student?
Okay, so let's go back to adding a student.
Like John Maxwell walks through the door and is enrolling in one of the programs. What would we actually do?
So to add a student in the system, let's just so you can type in anything as a username. That might you're going to put in a username, you're going to put in their first name, and you're going to put in a password. Now, one of the other things that we have here is a tag. And tag, what it does is it filters. We typically use this for either teacher names. And what it is basically it's an additional filter for reporting. So if you had 15 teachers at a school, and that teacher, you wanted them to be able to filter using the tag, you can assign a tag to a student. And then when the teacher goes to look at that list, it takes it as another buffer as you're looking at the entirety of those 41 students. You can just look at the teacher's students.
So tags can identify students however you want them identified. If you can create a tag that says Mitch's 4 p.m. class Tuesday. And then when you run reports, you can filter and sift any student that shows up in Mitch's 4 p.m. class Tuesday.
That is correct.
So it's a way for you to individually sift and sort. So if you have to do reporting for funding streams, you can tag students by what funding stream is reporting that student or supporting that student. So, if you have a grant from a particular foundation for workforce preparation skills, you can create a tag and tag all the students who are being funded through that particular source.
Can you have more than one tag for a user?
You can have as many tags as your heart desires.
Okay.
Just make a note of what they are, you know, like cover your computer screen with Post-it notes so that you remember who's in what tag.
Okay.
And who
So-
creates the learner? Is it only the admin, or can teachers create users?
Well, it depends how you build out the system. You can actually, there's a role called registrar. Registrar can be given to an administrator, or it can be given to a teacher to create the student.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. So to create the student, I just finished creating them. I gave them their password. If I want to look them up, I can type in their name here to do a quick search. After I refresh.
Sorry, Ryan, I was writing a note. The passwords are customizable by the registrar?
Yes, passwords, the only restriction that we have is 8 to 20, and it can be letters or numbers. So it's alpha or numeric or a combination of both.
Yeah, so I mean, it's important to note that when you're creating usernames and passwords, you do want them to be unique. If you don't create a password, the system will automatically assign one. So, you know, if you have 3 Johnny Smiths, you know, and you don't give it a password, it will create one Johnny Smith 1, Johnny Smith 2, etc. So a lot of agencies will, you know, create usernames and passwords based on their student enrollment ID number, or some other, you know, individual identifying number. Some schools use phone numbers so that the teacher doesn't have to go search for student information if they're trying to find the student. The phone number is right there as the username. So, you know, you can do that however it works best for your agency.
Yeah, and you can not only can you use anything you'd like as a password, but you can also like Mitch was saying before with the tags, if you're looking on this screen, you can see that I filtered out everyone with the last name Smith. So you can see that it's an easy way for me to search for my student, or I can look for the tag. So you can see here that all these students are tagged, but if I just click the X here and go to my tag, I will just go to A. Forrester, which is the teacher. And you can see here, this teacher has a list of 2 pages of students. And you can see here is the student that we just created. Now that is how you create the student, very simple. If you need to edit the student, there is this little cog, this little icon here, where you can see here, there is something called Masquerade, which we were just in before, which allows us to log in as that person without actually having to know their password. This is only something teachers and administrators can do. But we also have real-time monitoring. Real-time monitoring is a way for you to take a snapshot of the student of what they're working on every 30 seconds. So you can do that as well. To edit the student, whether it's the password, the username, or if they change teachers, you can come in here and edit the tag here, or change the password here and update the user. Now, what I did was I went from users to enrollments, and it's very simple. You search for the student, or you can use the tag to search for your student. I'm just going to type in Smith. What's really nice and easy here is to enroll the student. You just click on the little cog here, and you can add and drop enrollments, or you can check the box next to 2 students and use the add and drop enrollments at the top, where you're really just you can do this as a mass enrollment, as I explained before. You don't have to do it onesie twosie. You can enroll a group of students.
And Ra, you just dropped the term masquerade, and I want to make sure that everybody understands what that is. Masquerading is a feature in the system where you can go in and see everything that a student is seeing from their perspective in their account, but you don't have any ability to change anything. So if if a student says, I don't understand the question that I'm working on, you can masquerade in their account and see exactly what they're seeing on their screen. And it gives you the opportunity to give individualized guidance based on what they're actually working on at the time.
Hey, it's Linda. I love that idea. I think that's a great feature that you have. I'm curious about the snapshot. You said it takes a picture. I'm hoping we're not like, what does it take a picture of, I guess? Because in my head, all of a sudden I had a picture of you're taking a picture of the learner, like, but I'm assuming it's more is it a report? Is it what they're working on right
Sure.
there? How does that work?
We don't take pictures or videos of any student.
Okay, yeah, I was like, this is getting
Yeah,
creepy now.
No, it doesn't work like that's funny.
We are not Big Brother. We're not taking over your webcam. No,
Yeah.
that's not happening.
No.
Okay.
So the way that it works is, let me see if I can find, the way that it works is it only works for folks online. You can see here that these folks, it says these are students offline. But if you have a student that's online, the way that it works is you can click real-time monitoring. And what it does is every 30 seconds, it takes a snapshot only in their Aztec screen. So if Aztec is minimized, it won't take a snapshot of it, but it will continue to take that snapshot. Now, the nice thing is the teacher-student interaction, it actually pulls up also a text box where you can communicate with the student. Now, this communication is teacher to student and student to teacher, but the teacher has to start that conversation. It's not something a student can reach out to. The teacher can continue, the student can continue to email or message the teacher. It's just a matter of if the teacher clicks on this button, they can communicate with the student. So
Ryan, you created John Smith, right? Can you log in now as John Smith and show us the John Smith experience and then maybe run some reports as a teacher from that experience?
Absolutely. So what we're going to do is we actually have to enroll them into a class. So I'm just going to grab some random classes here. And what I'm doing is just typing in the word Abisi, which is the name of the school, because that's where my teacher is attached. So that's why you're looking at that. So to enroll them in the language arts and the reading, and we'll just do level 3 math. Now that I'm done enrolling him into my 3 classes, I click OK. And it is, now that student is enrolled. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to log in as this student here. Let me just Smith.j. Maybe I mistyped this password. Sorry about that. Not sure what's going on. Let me go back in.
We've all been there. I do need to comment on your wreath, Deanna, is that it's fantastic.
Oh, thank you. So that giant wreath over there normally goes on the garage door. My husband pulled it out and put it in the foyer, laying against the foyer bench. And I'm like, well, if it's going to sit there, I'm going to plug it in. And so I kept plugging it in because he never put it up. And so eventually I'm like, I spend more time in my office than anywhere else. I'm just going to move it there.
Well, it's very festive.
It is.
Thank you. Thank
When we
you.
logged in, I thought it was a virtual background.
No, because you see my nomies.
Yeah, they're cute.
I wanted to just pipe in and say, I think, and Ryan, we really appreciate you showing all this, but while you're doing that, I'm thinking that the things from our last conversation that it seemed like were the most important for you to kind of understand were how to customize classes and how to customize like learning paths for students. Did I get that right from the last meeting?
It's Sarah. I think that's a very key. I also think there were a lot of questions and perhaps some concerns about whether there is any customization of the dashboard from the student's perspective. Linda and Courtney, would you like to chime in?
To make it more, I don't want to use the word simplistic, but to make it more, were you thinking about limiting what the student could see?
That's correct.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
it's very busy. So we like to take it down to just what they need to know rather than give them all the information right off the top, especially
So
for the lower level.
what would you be looking at as far as being able to customize that view?
So I think the better question might be, Ryan, I'm sure you have had other folks want to slim down, so to speak, the student dashboard. So what would you suggest?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things we can do. Number one, you know, there is a way to minimize these here. But if you're looking for an additional, not show the assignments, not show any of these boxes, there's a little button here called options, and you can really hide everything, you know, that you'd like.
Is that done from the admin that kind of pushes it out to the user, or does that have to be done by the user?
So it does have to be it is on the user side, but there is a way to, you know, if you log in as the student the first time, after you create them, you can minimize what they see in this dashboard.
And is that something that we could, like if we had an agreed upon layout, is that something that could be in the background where you don't have to log in as the client every time to do that?
I'm going to have to be totally honest with you. I think you can do it masquerading, but I'm going to have to check to make sure. But I believe you can masquerade, turn these things, uncheck the boxes, click OK, and it will change this view.
But is there a way of doing it where it's pushed out from the beginning where you don't have to go in and change it per user?
There is not. No.
Okay.
So as you come, so if you want to look at what we have here is the students' classes, view classrooms. You can see there's the 3 classrooms and their progress. We're now looking at those 3 classrooms. You can click on any one of them to get started. You also have a classroom here with some data. They click on learning plan and they can focus on the reading. Now, each one of these skills here, as they open them up, you can see here's their pre-test, their learning components, their drills, and then their post-test.
Okay, so just as an example of busyness, like, and I know that, and Courtney, you can, as like when I came onto this screen, this is where I went, I have no idea where to go. Like if I was thinking as a learner, I just find it's very like, and I know, so I'm wondering, A, how customizable it is, and B, what supports are offered by Aztec to introduce a learner to this. Because when I'm looking at it, I'm like, whoa, like if I was a new reader and new to technology and I'm at home by myself and I just got handed my login, I'm going to go, that's kind of just freak me out a little bit, right?
Yeah,
Sure.
it's a lot.
So what we could do is in the admin system, there is something that we can hide tabs here. So I believe that what we can do is we can just leave the learning plan tab and the activity score up here. So when the student comes in, they will only have those 2 or 3 options as they click on these, on the learning plan.
So when they click on the learning plan, they'll only see the 2 tabs. Okay, so what happened to all the other stuff that was on there? Was that from the class home tab?
Oh, you're referring to this tab here?
Okay, so yeah, that's, so when they click in, they log in and they go, okay, I'm going to go view my classroom. This is what they see right off the bat, right?
Correct.
Okay, so, and this is where, as a learner, we're either going to we would have to really add some support, some guidance in the aspect, okay, this is what you're going to see, like a video, this is where you click, all that type of stuff.
Yep.
Or we're going to have to be able to customize this where their eyes go directly to where they need to go, right?
Sure. Now keep in mind, we do have documentation for students. We do have videos coming out for students that will be available. You know, the document is really just, it really tells them there's really 3 clicks to get into your class and get started. You know, from the dashboard, from here, it's one, you know, you're going to click on your classroom, whichever it might be, and then you're going to click on learning plan. Those are the 3 things you do have to do to get in here. But we can hide some, like I said, we can hide some of these tabs to make it a little less busy for you as they get in.
Okay, and that can be customized at the beginning, that we're not going in and customizing each client's, right?
Correct. That is correct.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so I don't know. I'm sure you've been in here. I don't know how much you know about the learner side, but what we do is really we give them start with a pre-test. We really diagnose them to find out what skills they need here. The remediation path after the student completes that pre-test, it will color code these lessons to what the student has to work on. The student goes through those lessons and then takes a drill, works on the drill to reinforce their skills, and then go ahead and takes that post-test to confirm that they have knowledge in those areas. Now, the post-test can be taken multiple times. The pre-test can be taken, typically it's only a one-time test, the pre-test, unless it's reset by the administrator. And really the idea here is we want to compare that pre-test score to that post-test score at the end of the day to confirm that they know the general reading skills for this in this instance. And there's a comparative in the reporting of pre-test versus post-test. All the tests are randomized. There's thousands of questions that the student can choose from. So the student will have the opportunity, two students sitting next to each other, again, will not see the same test as they go through and take a look at these. There is a lot of interaction with the student. It's not just about going through the screens, but what you'll see here is,
By the end of this lesson,
there's audio throughout the system. As the student goes through the lessons, we call it show me, try it. So we'll teach a skill, maybe on the first 3, 4, 5 screens. And then we have a skill check where the student can actually work or answer a few questions pertaining to the few screens prior to that.
Yeah,
Hey, Ryan,
this is,
yeah, go ahead, Courtney.
I was just gonna say, this is looking familiar based on what Matt showed us before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So I know Matt's probably taking you through this side of the system. So I don't know how deep you want me to get into here, but there's really a lot of content available, especially if you customize it to correlate to your documents or your learning, your learning path for your students.
So Ryan, I think they've been playing some on the student side with the demo account, and so some of their questions might tend to be more going back to if you have a student that comes in and you have created a customized class for them, for example, with lessons in it, and then you decided that they knew some stuff you thought that they didn't, or they need some additional skills that you might not have realized that they needed because they're prerequisite skills or something like that. How easy is it to adjust a learning plan for an individual?
So it's just a matter of, so we were in that earlier. Do you guys want me to go through that and show you how to edit?
Or just ask if anybody had any questions about that, maybe?
Well, I think for this particular one, we were trying to get as much information as we could about the admin and how easy it is. I think you picked up on the two things: is one, being able to customize. For me, it's also knowing where to start the client off on what we're going to enroll them in on initially, and then the other end is the reports and how we know how they're doing, which I think you went through a little bit when you went through. I think it was under the reports tab maybe, but being able to, I really like the aspect of being able to masquerade and go in and take a look at where they're at. But I think it's important for us to be able to identify what they've accomplished when they've last logged in, what they've completed, what they still have to work on. Those types of things is an important piece for us. So where they are, how to add things if we need to, and then the reports.
Okay. Yeah. So the enrollments part, as far as, if you have a student that needs to go in and out of a class, if you find that, what the class that you put them in was the level was too high for them, it's just a matter of searching for the student here, like we did before. Literally you can just edit their enrollments. So right now they're in math level 3. If that was too high and you needed to lower that to something else and you needed math level 2, I could come down here and go to math level 2 and put them in there and just get rid of the math level 3 by just clicking the X. It's that
And
simple.
those are classes that were created by the organization, right?
Correct. These are customized classes. And you can see here, they're customized. Every facility has a name in front of it. So for instance, these two different facilities, but they all have the same, let me say this, the way that this customer created their accounts was they had a set of 27 classes. All 20 of those 7 classes were created for each location. Identical classes.
Okay.
The teachers from those facilities were attached to just those classes, those 27 classes.
So can you duplicate a class?
Good question.
Yep, you can, we call it cloning. So
Okay.
you can clone a class. So it makes it easy. So obviously we don't have to do it for 27 people. But the way that it works is there is something called clone class. And basically what it does is it takes all the data or everything that this class was created on. So you only have to do it once and you can clone it and just rename it.
Okay.
So I'm taking all the data that we customized and used, but we're putting a different name in front of it. We're just we're changing wrapping paper. The present's still the same.
Are you thinking, Courtney, then that there would be like the hub language arts 1 or whatever, and then each teacher would then have a hub Joe language
That's
arts
not
1?
how we do it right now. I don't know if that's a model we'd want to explore. I'm more thinking, say we found a really nice pathway that we liked and we wanted to clone it and then maybe customize it a little bit and make it like GED versus PLAR, you know?
Okay.
So that was just more my question. So if you clone a class, you don't take the client data with you, you just take the courses, right?
That is correct. So the student data is always with the student.
Okay.
So whether you take a student and he moves facilities or moves schools, it doesn't matter. That data is always with the student. So if you go to re-enroll him in a class that's similar and one of the lessons was complete 2 months ago, that lesson will still be complete in the new class.
Okay.
It'll
That
show,
makes sense.
the circles filled in with either, whether it's completed or not completed, halfway completed, so they can still go back into it.
Sarah, could I just jump in? I see, Courtney, that you probably have to step out. Do you have any other questions you want us to try to address so you can review them on the recording after?
No, I think we've definitely seen a deeper dive today than like with the reporting side of things. So that's great. I'll definitely catch up on anything I missed with the recording. I didn't intend to step out early, but this seemed to be the way it worked.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Courtney, for joining us. I know it seems, there's a lot in the system. There's a lot to customize, and there's a lot of opportunities to do what you want to do. It's hard to show you and jump around from screen to screen and in sort of an unorthodox fashion, when I'm not 100% sure the way the system you guys want to build it out. Once I'm confident in that, and once I'm confident in the way you want to build it out, it's a lot easier for me to just help you build out classes. We start from a certain point, we attach the teachers to the class, and then we sort of build a plan, what tags you might want to use, what filters might be good for you, whether it's funding stream, whether it's teacher names, whether it's AM class versus PM class, there might be a whole sort of a bunch of factors that we build into the system, but I help you customize it. It's not you out on your own just building classes. The FSR in Aztec is here for you guys to make sure that the system is built correctly and make sure teachers are attached to all the classes and make sure the roles are correct that the teachers get. So all that is sort of, the FSR helps you build that once the system is purchased.
And then is that something that after that we have control to be able to change those classes and teachers? Like that's not something that we'd always have to come back to Aztec for. The admin in our side would have the ability to change those, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
You can change anything that I've done or anything that I do in the system. But if you wanted me, if you had something specific that you weren't sure about, you can certainly call the FSR email and they would basically steer you in the right direction or do it for you.
What's an FSR?
Field service
mean-
rep, sorry.
There we go. Okay.
I say it so-
I know that this was used at the beginning, but I'm trying to catch up. Field service rep. Okay.
I apologize. I know I say it so much that I forget sometimes that people aren't in my other conversations. So it stands for field service rep. Sorry about
Okay.
Yep.
Could we take a look at the certificates tab?
Sure. The certificate stuff is actually not available just yet. We're working on it, and it will be available.
Okay.
It's not completed. It's not 100% completed and tested yet.
Okay. So that's something that's coming up
Yep,
from
yep.
Aztec?
Yep.
Okay.
It's coming out soon. And you can see up here, when we were logged in as a teacher, I don't know if you remember, but I'm logged in as administrator, so I see all these buttons at the top. When you're logged in as a teacher, you see basically maybe 3 or 4 of the buttons at the top. It limits what they can see and do in the system.
Okay. I also see a deactivate. So is that would be managing a learner in the aspect of they're not active right now, you deactivate them, but do they keep their progress that if they came back, you could reinstate them, or does that delete their progress?
Yep, great question. So the deactivation, the way that it works is once you deactivate a student, it's typically because they're no longer interacting with the school, but we also don't want them taking up a user working on it from home, right? So what you can do is you deactivate them. The data stays with the student as long as you do not erase them, but they won't have access if they're deactivated. Okay, so when they go to sign in, it'll say, please see your instructor for access. Once you reactivate them, you enroll them back into their classes and their data is still there.
Amazing. Okay.
Yep.
And I always recommend never to erase a student. If you're ever audited for your grant, you want to be able to go back multiple years and pull data. So, you can deactivate a student and they just sit idle and they're not taking up any of the licenses, but their data is still preserved. As soon as you erase them, you're not able to go back and perform any type of audit on that student's activity.
Correct. Yeah.
It's Sarah. From our point of view, our because we're supporting these organizations, the funder often gets down to, how many registrants are being supported by this kind of a system. So would there be an overall report? I know there are system users, and there probably are reports of students' outcomes, but is there, there's always the question of what's a course and what's a lesson, and how are these counted? I mean, you have one student that might be assigned courses from a number of your different libraries, if you will. So I don't know whether in my mind that's one student and one registration, or it's one student with several registrations. I'm sort of thinking through the muddle that's always in my head about this, but that's something that I know from the macro level, Contact North probably would be interested in knowing.
Yeah, so the way that it works is in the reports area, you actually have the ability to see a classroom log. Is that what you're looking for? How many students logged into classrooms over a period of time?
It could be that, I guess. Yeah, there's a difference, I guess, in our in the systems.
You need a system report, more so like a high level system report, how many clients have used it from this date to this date and that type of stuff, right, Sarah, for your reports?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so this classroom login report's one of those type of reports. The way that it works, I'll give you a quick glance at this. So classroom login, you can choose your time interval. You can use Aztec's defaults, or you can go to custom range. So if you're looking for, I don't know, let's call it August 1 through today, you can select every single class if you'd like. Here we have 487 classes. And then you can select all the students, or you can select, if you're an instructor, you can select a group or filter by tag, which we discussed earlier. So we'll just select students.
And that's where if we had a hub tag and a GLA tag, Sarah, you could probably divide it up by organization too
Yeah.
with the tag.
Yeah, tags are interesting. There's so many different uses for tags. Like Mitch was saying, the funding streams. That's a out of the box sort of way to look at it. The teachers, or the AM versus PM. There's so many different ways to look at tags, and the fact that you could attach multiple tags adds a whole nother layer to it, because sometimes students need that. They might be associated with 2 different schools, or 2 different teachers, or 2 different funding streams, as Mitch said. It just depends. So this report's probably going to take a little while because it was a lot of data, but nevertheless, let me see if I could run it for a different group. Let me just select all these. So what I did was I just selected one facility instead of all 25. So the nice thing about our reports is you can do other things while it's running in the background, if it's one of those big reports. So here's one, it just came up. So what you're looking at here is, this is just the 9 classrooms reported. And you can see between the date range I selected, the number of successful logins to each one of these classes for just this location, and the duration that they spent in the system.
So when you say successful logins, is that a unique user?
This is not unique. So this is how many.
So that's
a student
not,
might have,
yeah, that's not going to probably be what Sarah would need from a high level. She'd need to know how many unique users, right, Sarah? Sarah?
So that would be
in particular, the how many unique students.
so that might be more like the time on task report, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I can gather that data through other ways for you. Through
Ryan, why don't you explain the 7 different types of reports and see if one of them meets what they're looking for?
So the time on task report really is used for distance learning. This shows, really, this is a time report when a student logged in to when they logged out. This will give you an individual's time, how long they spent in the system. The activity, there's little descriptors here, and as you can see, that the student activity report really shows every piece of data between the date range you selected. It shows time and score, as well as progress for their lessons and drills. The transcript is overview of all the students' transcript in the system. It doesn't show as much. The time in the system is not as accurate as these. This gives from when the student logged in to when they logged out, meaning that when I say not accurate, I don't mean it's not accurate. I mean that it shows menu time. So what you're looking at is it will pick up the menu time for the student, even if they weren't doing anything in the system. The attendance report, it will show the duration, log in, log out. This report might work for what you're referring to, now that I think about it. So if we do a custom range here, I think this is actually what you might be looking for here. So what this report's going to show is all the students that logged in between that time frame. And you can run this and get, just bear with me here as it's loading up. sorry about that. There we go. So what you're looking at here is the student and the time frame. So this report might be what you're looking for, because it does show you the student name and their login, log out, and the duration that they spent in the system. At the top here, what you can see is the total time. So for instance, this student, Maria, spent 20 hours, 32 minutes, and 33 seconds between that date range we selected. It breaks it down and shows you the dates that the student was in the system and how long they worked on it. Is that what you were looking for?
Well, we can leave it at that for now, Ryan. I think, again, for me to report to the funder, they would want to know the overall usage in this software by students. You know, how many students. I don't think they'd get to the point that they want to know how much time they're using. They might want to know the number of courses, but I could also get more information from the Learning Hub and Good Learning Anywhere if I had to have more detail. But thank you.
We send Sarah so many emails or so many reports. It would be great to be able to pull this one just in the aspect of, but as the high level, because if you think about it, sorry, I jumped in, Sarah.
Okay.
But if you think about it from a school board level, they need like data without all the details. They just need the data, right? The system data, whereas we need to know the client data and their details so that we can work with the client. So those are kind of the two levels of reports we'd be looking at for sure.
Yeah, I mean, so for Sarah, I mean, I think not even going into the reports area, what I tell folks, what we use is even in the users area, where you see last login, you can filter by date. So the nice thing is you can actually filter it here and really just check the boxes next to all their names and just export this list, and you will see a total number of students.
Okay.
I mean, that's the simplicity of, you know, if that's something you needed, just a number of how many students logged in, I can get you that here.
Okay. While we're looking at this, what's the firewall tab?
The firewall tab allows you to create rules. So if you want them only logging in from a specific IP address, so let's say you wanted to buy the system and you only wanted them using it in a specific library or a school, we can limit where they access this by whitelisting that IP address, meaning that they will only have access to the system if they go through that IP address. You can set rules for days. You could do every day or specific days, and you can blacklist or whitelist a group of IP addresses.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Linda, did you have other questions? Sorry, there's a dog groaning in the background here.
No, I've tried to channel my inner Julie and Warren and come up with as many questions as I could, but I'm sure they're going to listen to the recording and have a few messages. I guess if actually I do have one more, sorry. This has been great. Thank you for the demo. I really appreciate your time. But you mentioned something about connecting or being able to message with a client while they're in the system.
Yeah.
And I see that you have something up that says message sender or something, but that's kind of what flagged me on it. But what kind of communication tools are available within the system to connect with the client?
Sure. So what you're looking at is something that I wanted to show you earlier, but I didn't see anyone online. What this does is it actually takes, if the student's online, what you can do is you can use the real-time monitoring, and you can actually, what I was saying was take a snapshot of what the student's working on, and it takes it, if you look down here, every 30 seconds. Now, during this time, you actually have a little communication box that the teacher would have to start the communication, and they can send them a message, and it pops up on their screen. Or you have, you know, if you see that they haven't changed from this one screen that we took a screenshot 30 seconds ago, 60 seconds ago, maybe they need help. And you can message them, would you like additional assistance? You know, and you can communicate with the student about what they're working on.
So where are you seeing their screen then? Is that popping up somewhere?
Yeah, for some reason, I'm not seeing it pop up, so I'm not sure what's going on. But typically it pops up right here. It may be an update. I know I'm using Chrome, and I know Chrome's been having issues last week, so it might be my browser. But what you would see is you would see that screenshot of the student here.
Okay.
And it just takes a snapshot every 30 seconds, and you can communicate here. Now,
But the learner can't initiate that, only the instructor can initiate that, right?
that is correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, we also have something called announcements. You can create an announcement for a classroom or a school. You cannot do this for an individual student, but you can do it for a group of teachers, whether it be admins, just staff, teachers, or students. And you can create this, once you create this message, something like, we'll be off for Christmas starting December 25th or December 20th. You can create that and have it expire on the 25th. So you don't have to come back in here and delete it. It'll delete on its own.
Oh, that's handy. Okay. So here, okay, so this is my question, and I'm still thinking about and I'm trying to think of the word where, not hierarchy, but how it's arranged. So your classroom type, you have classroom announcement and you have school announcements. So what are you using as the term school then? Is that everybody within the system?
That is correct. So a school announcement would be to everyone that belongs to this school. A classroom announcement. So watch what happens. When I go to school, you're going to see the classrooms disappear.
Okay, so every classroom under that Massachusetts would get it. Okay.
You're exactly right. So every single one of these 450 classrooms would get that message. Or you can go specific to a classroom.
Just do Cape Cod community where had a flood or something, right? Okay.
Exactly. And you can click multiples. I'm just, it's just one or school or classroom.
And
Very
are
cool.
the how do the messages and the announcements pop up for a user logged in? Is it at the top of the dashboard, or is it something that is colored in a different banner to get their attention? Or
Yep. So once they click on the classroom, that announcement will be visual there. It will be also visual here under notifications. They can click the little envelope to notify them, and this will change. I believe this does change color once there is a message there.
are there any options aside from any browser adjustments a user would use for any visibility challenges a student might have, or a teacher, I guess, for that matter?
So we do have, I don't know if you saw in the lessons, we do have any passage that you see that's highlighted in yellow, you can click on it. It will expand into for instance, into a larger screen. Let me see if I can. Sorry. So typically in the reading and language arts areas of the system, let me see if it's here. I'd have to find it. I'm sorry, I don't know a screen that has one on it. But it's the way that it works is there's a yellow screen that will pop up, and it will expand the font. So it goes from being this size to 4 times the size of the font, and the student can read it, and it's more accessible to the student to read.
Okay.
I have seen our system work with screen readers. So I have seen it work with JAWS. I don't know if you guys have that.
I don't think we have any students at the moment that are using it, but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Linda, do you have any other questions? I really appreciate everyone's time, but I don't want to.
I just have two, which you probably talked about, but I just wanted to confirm. Browsers, what recommended browsers do you use? What browsers do you recommend to use with Aztec, or what's it compatible with?
So we recommend, so if someone's using a Windows computer, we recommend Chrome. The most updated version of Chrome. They can also use the most updated version of Firefox. If they're on a Mac, they can use Safari. The only thing that we really require is that it's up to date, the browser, and it's the most up to date version.
Okay. And Flash? There's no Flash activities, right?
No,
Confirming.
Our system is built in HTML5.
Okay.
Yep.
So we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah,
Right.
there's no
Chaos.
downloader plugin or anything like that.
Yep.
And mobile users,
Oh, good question.
I'm sorry.
mobile device users access?
So our recommended screen size is 1024 by 768, which is the size of a iPad, which is 9 inches. I have seen people use it on a mobile device. We do have users that use it on a larger mobile device. The screen, the way it's built, the system, it's sort of what we call an iframe. And as you can see here, as I shrink the screen, it tries to move everything onto that screen. So like if you notice here, the buttons are sort of squished together. So it is a little more difficult to read, but it is possible. Like I said, I have seen folks use it in a mobile environment. So
The issue with mobile, if I can chime in, is more for accessing the graphics that a student might need to work through problem sets, or accessing long reading passages where they may need to scroll up and down and up and down and back and forth as they read the question and then go back and look at the reading selection. So it's not a matter of that it won't work, it's just a matter of it's a small screen.
right.
Yeah, it's a question because there are a lot of learners who don't have computer access and are relying basically on their phones.
Sure.
And
So
I don't know, Linda,
yeah.
whether offline use is also of concern to you. Linda's organization in particular reaches out to some of the Indigenous communities in Northern Ontario and across the province that really don't have great internet. That's not to say it's not true for the Learning Hub either, but often instructors are trying to reach out to communities and learners that distance learning isn't optimized for because of infrastructure. So I don't know if you have any comments or any experience with that.
Is there any offline capability with Aztec? I hadn't even asked that.
So we do have what we call an Aztec companion, but it's a device that usually sits at a location. So it would be for more like a school that doesn't have good internet access, or the speed isn't as fast. Aztec puts it on what we call it's a little we call it an appliance, and it's about 4 inches by 4 inches. It's a little tiny server, and we load our data, we load our software onto there. You plug it into your network, and it works as it's an online system.
Oh, you need a network. Okay. No, I work in some jails and they're always looking for offline solutions because they have no access to internet, but we're able to bring tablets in. So, okay. No, I just,
but it doesn't need a network. So I'm sorry. You can also connect this to like a wireless router, for instance. Okay. And this device can be like, if your students use tablets if they're using, they can use the wireless router, which you can buy one for $50, $75, connect it to this device, and then all the tablets in that classroom could use it.
so no internet connectivity is needed at all?
At all. None.
Correct. We work with
Interesting.
a large number of correctional institutions when we have many, many state contracts for delivery of all of our content on tablets without access to Wi-Fi. So we work with the tablet providers to load the content, and they're used absolutely independent of a connection.
Okay, we need to take this conversation. Yeah, I'll have to, that's kind of a different, it's not part of the channel. Well, I don't know, Sarah, if you want to be involved in it, but that's something I'd like to take to my corrections literacy initiative then, because we're always looking for solutions there. So that's fantastic to
Yeah,
know.
we can really have that conversation. I mean, for example, we have the contract with the Federal Bureau of Prisons in the US for all 50 states. So we can definitely work on a solution with you and your tablet provider.
Ooh, could you send me that information? Or could you send me some information, or let there somehow connect
Yeah,
with
I mean,
that? I'd be
we-
interested.
Which tablets you're using and what their capability is for downloading content onto the tablet.
I think we would probably start from scratch on this one. Our current solution has gone a different direction. So
Yeah, Deanna, that's more in your ballpark.
Yeah, I was just
okay,
getting ready to say,
I
Matt.
get to see more of her reads.
Matt can reach out to you, and we can maybe set up another call
Exactly.
to talk specifically about that.
Yeah, I'd be
Yeah,
interested.
and keep
probably-
in mind that you don't, the software sits on, there's two different ways to do it. Mitch was explaining one way and I was explaining another way. So there is a way to get it onto a tablet, and then there is a way where it actually sits on our Aztec companion, and you're using the wireless to just get the content from the companion to the tablet.
But you could download it onto a tablet and use it offline too.
Well, they're both offline.
We'll have.
Talk about it.
Okay, yeah, we can. Yeah, I pull in someone else to this conversation anyway, who's actually working in the facility. So this is great. Yeah, no.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'd love to talk to you about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
We'll table that for January though.
Right.
Okay, I'm sorry. I know I really got us into another direction, but thank you for that. Linda, do you have any other questions for the moment?
I will say my thank yous and appreciate this. This has been fantastic.
Good.
Okay, thank you. I don't know, and I'm sorry, Ryan, I may have interrupted the flow from your end, whether there was anything else you thought it was important for us to see at this point?
No, not unless you do. I was sort of all over the map today, not in any kind of flow. But when you guys, once you make your decision and we sort of have those conversations as to where to go next, I think you'll appreciate it's a nice, smooth transition. The way that we build out the system will be, for your organization, will make sense. Obviously, every organization is slightly different. So, it'll be formatted to what you're looking for. Student access versus, what you want them to see, teachers versus administrators, adding filters like tags, reports that will give you the specific reports you need. You'll be able to build customized classes that you need in the system based on, what content you want in there. So it sort of has a lot of angles and a lot of, we sort of skipped around today, but, I think you'll be happy with the outcome.
Yeah, I think, Sarah, probably wanting to, I guess, pick up once we get it in the new year. I just kind of want to give everybody just a chance that wasn't able to make the call to be able to soak all this in. And then obviously I'm here to, assist with any questions. If I need to bounce those off to Ryan or Mitch or Deanna, whoever that may be, to get those answers for you, we can certainly do that. So in the meantime, thank you all. Linda, appreciate you joining. And then we'll connect again with the corrections in January. And then I hope everybody has a great holiday.
Well, thank you so much. I very much appreciate, I know we drove you to be in different directions today. And we were kind of trying to cover all bases. So I hope you can understand. I'm just trying to reflect the questions that I know are coming from these two groups, and keeping in mind it's very difficult to meet the unique needs of both, but you've been extremely helpful in showing us everything and being patient with our questions. So yes, I will definitely be in touch, and I wish everybody a safe and healthy Christmas season.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Have a
Thanks,
wonderful holiday.
Sarah.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Sarah.
everybody.
Thanks, guys. Have a
Happy
wonderful,
holidays.
wonderful holiday.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.